Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to share with you a truth that can change the way you carry yourself forever. Most of us spend our lives explaining, justifying, or defending ourselves. And in doing so, we hand over our power without even realizing it. But what if I told you there's a way to flip that power instantly? What if strength isn't found in defending yourself, but in refusing to? This isn't about arrogance, and it's not about silence. It's about shifting control back into your hands. And once you understand this trick, you'll see how confidence isn't something you chase. It's something you claim. There comes a moment in life when you realize that defending yourself is the very thing that keeps you weak. Think about it. Every time you rush to explain why you did something, why you made a choice, or why you are the way you are, you unconsciously hand your power over to the other person. You're saying to them, "You are the judge, and I need your approval." But here's the truth. You don't need to be on trial in anyone else's courtroom. You don't need permission to exist, to think differently, or to stand firm in who you are. When you stop defending yourself, you stop negotiating your value. That's the flip. That's how you reclaim the power instantly. Most of us were raised to believe that defending ourselves is proof of strength. We were told that if we don't explain, people will misunderstand us, maybe even dislike us. And for years, we swallowed that lie. But let me tell you this, people who want to misunderstand, you will do it no matter how many words you pour out. The truth is, the more you defend, the smaller you look. Confidence doesn't plead its case. Confidence just is. Imagine standing in a room where someone questions you. Maybe they doubt your intentions. Maybe they poke at your choices. Instead of scrambling for words, instead of giving them a 5-minute justification, you simply hold your ground, look them in the eye, and let silence do the work. That silence doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're unshaken. And that, my friends, is magnetic. Now I know what some of you are thinking. But what if I don't explain and they assume the worst? Here's the secret: people will always assume whatever they want. That's their business, not yours. Your job is not to manage perceptions. It's to live authentically. Defending yourself is like running on a hamster wheel. You put in all the effort, but you go nowhere. And the person watching, they know they've got you spinning. But when you refuse to defend, when you don't bite the bait, the wheel stops. Suddenly, they're the one scrambling. Suddenly, they're the one exposed. That's the flip. You take back control without saying a single word. Think about the strongest people you admire. The leaders, the role models, the ones who walk into a room and everyone feels their presence. Do they explain themselves constantly? Do they spend their energy proving why they belong? No, they carry themselves with certainty. They know who they are, and they let that truth speak for itself. And you can do the same. The next time someone challenges you, remember this: you don't need to fight to prove your worth. Your life, your choices, and your actions already prove it. This is not about arrogance. This is not about shutting people down. This is about alignment, about living in such a way that your actions and your confidence speak louder than your words ever could. People will test you. They will question you. Some will even try to drag you into debates just to drain your energy. But if you can resist the urge to defend yourself, if you can stand tall in your silence, you'll see how quickly the balance of power shifts. Suddenly, you're not the one seeking validation. They are. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where real strength lies. So the next time someone tries to put you on trial, pause, take a breath, and instead of defending, just stand firm. Because the strongest statement you can ever make is not in what you explain, but in what you refuse to. That's the trick. That's the shift. That's how you flip the power instantly. True power isn't in defense. It's in confidence. Silence and certainty speak louder than words. I want you to really let that sink in, because at first it sounds almost counterintuitive. We're taught from the time we're children that if someone challenges us, we should stand up and argue our side. If someone questions us, we should give evidence, reasons, and proof that we are right. It feels natural to defend ourselves because our ego is wired to protect us. But the truth is, every time you defend yourself, you put the other person in a position of authority over you. You are essentially saying, your approval matters more than my truth. And that's where you lose your power. Think of the times you've been accused, questioned, or doubted. Your first reaction was probably to explain, to justify, to fill the silence with reasons. And yet, no matter how much you explained, it never felt enough. Because the problem isn't that people don't understand you. The problem is that people who want to misunderstand you will always find a way. Defending yourself is like pouring water into a bucket full of holes. It keeps leaking, and you keep exhausting yourself. But when you stand in confidence, when you let silence answer instead of words, suddenly you stop playing their game. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is power, because silence says, I don't need to prove myself. I'll give you an image. Imagine a king or queen sitting on their throne. Does the ruler explain every single decision? Does the ruler justify every law, every command, every choice? No. They speak with certainty. They know who they are. And even if people disagree, the ruler does not scramble to defend. Why? Because their position and their presence already command authority. That's exactly how you should carry yourself in life. Every time you defend yourself, you climb down from your throne and argue with people in the crowd. But when you choose confidence and silence, you stay seated in your power. You remain untouchable. Here's another example. Imagine you're in a workplace and someone spreads a rumor about you, or someone questions why you got the promotion, the project, or the opportunity. Most people would rush to explain, I worked hard, I put in late nights, I earned this. But the moment you do that, you validate their doubt. Instead, picture this: you simply smile, keep working, and let your results speak for themselves. Eventually, the truth surfaces. And when it does, your silence will echo louder than any argument could have. That's the essence of power. It's not in how much noise you make, but in how much certainty you carry. Confidence doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need applause. And it certainly doesn't need permission. Confidence is about standing so firmly in your truth that even when people throw stones, they don't knock you off balance. The stone may hit, but it doesn't move you. That's what silence does. It keeps you rooted while others waste their energy trying to provoke you. Now let's be clear. This doesn't mean you never speak up. It doesn't mean you allow injustice or disrespect. What it means is that you choose when to respond, and you choose to respond from a place of calm strength, not desperate defense. The person who reacts instantly, who argues and defends, is controlled by emotion. The person who pauses, who remains still, who answers only when necessary, that's the person who owns the room. Think about great leaders in history, the people we remember, the people who left an impact. They weren't people who defended themselves against every critic. In fact, they often stayed silent in the face of attacks. Because they understood something most people don't. Your silence forces people to wrestle with their own thoughts. When you don't defend yourself, the other person begins to question their own position. They begin to doubt their own argument. And slowly, the power shifts from them to you. You've probably experienced this yourself without realizing it. Think about a time when you were in a disagreement and the other person just stopped responding. They didn't defend, they didn't explain, they just stood still, maybe even smiled. Didn't it frustrate you? Didn't it make you wonder if they knew something you didn't? That's the power of silence. It plants doubt in the other person's mind and strengthens yours. And let's not forget the personal side of this. In relationships, whether with friends, family, or partners, we often feel the urge to defend ourselves because we fear rejection. We think, if I don't explain, they'll leave me. They'll think I don't care. But defending isn't love. Defending is fear. Real love and respect come when you both stand in your truth without begging to be understood. When you stop defending yourself, you make space for authenticity. You allow people to see the real you, not the version you edited, justified, or watered down to please them. And if they can't accept that, then maybe they were never meant to stand beside you in the first place. Silence and certainty also give you freedom. Freedom from overthinking, freedom from anxiety, freedom from trying to control everyone's perception. Because here's the truth, you cannot control what people think of you. You can only control what you believe about yourself. And when you believe in yourself so deeply that you don't need to defend, you walk lighter, stronger, freer. You no longer live for approval. You live for purpose. Now, let's bring this down to something practical. The next time someone questions you, instead of rushing into defense mode, pause, take a deep breath. Ask yourself, do I owe this person an explanation? Will defending myself here serve me or weaken me? Most of the time, you'll realize you don't owe them anything. And in that pause, in that silence, you'll feel a new kind of strength rise up. That strength will carry you into your career, your relationships, and your daily battles with a calm authority that no amount of defense could ever create. Ladies and gentlemen, power doesn't come from loud arguments. Power doesn't come from endless justifications. Power comes from certainty, from knowing who you are, from silence that speaks volumes. When you master this, when you choose confidence over defense, you stop giving people the keys to your peace. You lock your power inside you, and no one, not a critic, not a doubter, not a hater, can take it away. So remember, this true power isn't in defense, it's in confidence. And confidence doesn't always need words. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can ever say is nothing at all.